Season 2 of Tekken 8 is due to be released just around the corner in spring. Everybody is posting their Season 2 wishlist, so I thought it was about time that we do mine. There is a lot to cover in this video, and I've split my list up into sections. If you're only interested in certain parts of the wishlist, I will have timestamps down below if you want to skip to certain parts on the video. Before I get started on this list, I should say that I do actually like Tekken 8. I stream basically only Tekken 8, and the only content on this YouTube channel is Tekken related. So I hope it goes without saying that I do love Tekken. I do want it to succeed in the best possible way that it can. And this isn't me just shitting on the game. There are a lot of things in the game right now that I think would probably be better if they were slightly different. And there are some things that aren't in the game that I wish were in the game. But I should say also that this is my personal wish list. These are things that I personally would like added in the game, or changed in the game. So you're not going to agree with everything I talk about. I mean, everybody's ideal Tekken 8 will be slightly different. Everybody's ideal game that they love to play will be slightly different, even the games that they love, right? So bear that in mind when you're watching the video. If you like the video, please do me a favor and leave a like. And if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button down below. Right, on with the wish list. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, of course, balancing. Nerf the top 10 or 15. Yoshi, Nina, Jin, Dragunov, Feng, Law, Claudio. My perspective on balance direction is basically just to nerf the characters that are too strong and to not buff the weaker ones. I think that every character is already really good in Tekken 8. It's just that the top 10 and 15 are so good that it basically overshadows all the other characters in the game. They don't really have a chance to flourish in the game because the Dragunovs and the Jins and Yoshis, it basically just overshadows everything, and they don't get to like utilize their move list really as much as they could if the top 10, 15 are nerfed. So nerf the top 10 or 15, and hopefully we can see some different characters in tournaments, right? Rather than just Dragunov, Yoshi, and Jin all the time. That would be pretty cool. I think most of you would agree with that. Oki, let's talk about Oki, because I see nobody talking about this. Oki for most characters in this game are really, really good, actually. Not every character in Tekken 8 has like exceptionally good Oki, but like just to name a few, we got like Clive's back 4, he's got Kazuya's steel pedal, Yoshi's forward 1+2 as Kazuya's steel pedal, Dragunov's QCF 4, I mean I don't really need to say more about that move. Claudio's DP, which high crushes and low crushes. Jin's down 2 and Jin's dive kick for Oki as well. The thing is, Kazuya, Devil Jin, King, Paul, these characters have good Oki because it serves their character like a specific purpose, right? It serves a specific purpose for that character. Kazuya, for example, he has really good Oki because he has a 50-50, right? That's why he has good Oki, because it serves his 50-50 utility, right? It's kind of the same with Devil Jin, right? Is Devil Jin going to do a back 4, or are you going to get up into a 50-50, right? Dragunov, in my opinion, shouldn't have very good Oki. It kind of waters down his playstyle, his unique playstyle a bit. Like, Dragunov is a character that has power mids and a down 2, basically. That's the character. If he's up close, he pesters you like a parasite. I see a lot of people comparing to. He's a parasite, right? He wants to like get in your face all the time. And he has his power mids to get you really afraid of ducking, and then, oh, here comes down 2, and this down 2 will chip away at you constantly. You try and sidestep him right, down 2. That's Dragunov, or that's how he was in Tekken 7, right? In Tekken 8 now, he has Oki. He doesn't just have Oki, he also has a lot of tracking moves that he didn't. Although they have fixed his, I say fixed, they nerfed his back 4-3, and he has seen some nerfs over the lifespan of Tekken 8. Oki in particular, like his QCF 4 hits grounded, and yeah, the other characters that I mentioned, like Clive, Yoshi, Claudio's DP, like some characters don't suit to have good Oki because it waters down their specific playstyle. That's just my opinion anyway. If you patch every hole in the character's weaknesses, every character is basically the same, just with different animations. And this general theme with what I just talked about will carry over to wall carry for every character is too good. This is kind of self-explanatory, but I don't think that every character should be able to do this combo with Clive. Now, obviously, this is an extreme example, the most extreme example, because Clive has the best wall carry in the game. But there are a lot of characters that have insane wall carry, let's be honest, in Tekken 8. Most of the gameplay you see, or that you do, is basically somebody has their back against the wall, right? Obviously, Colosseum and Yakushima, it'll be slightly different, right? Because they're like pseudo-infinite stages, but most of the gameplay that you engage in or that you see online, somebody has their back against the wall. So I think it'd be nice to be able to play some more neutral out in the open. I think that'd be pretty cool. Moving on, lows I think should be a little bit more punishable. Lily's back turn down 2 is -12. Xiaoyu's Hypnotist 3 is -13. I always use these two lows for an example. There are more lows for these examples, but to be honest, with the reward that lows get, I think there should be a little bit more risk. Lily's back turn down 2 on counter hit gives a follow-up QCF 3. When Xiaoyu transitions into Hypnotist, I'll use a Heat Smash as an example here. She has now put you in a forced 50-50. You have to guess. You can't sidestep or option select or anything. You have to guess, mid or low. If she does the mid, it's plus on block. If she does the low, it's -13. She can either knock you down for guaranteed damage, or she can take a couple of steps and then do the low and it will fully launch you. I just think there should be more risk involved for the amount of reward that Xiaoyu gets for having a Heat Smash blocked, or have it hit, because when you get hit by it, it still leaves you standing and you're in the same situation. But just generally, in general, the low should be a little bit more punishable, in my opinion. Wall combo damage is too high. Damage in general is also too high. This is also self-explanatory. A lot of the gameplay in Tekken 8 is basically just one big combo, get into the wall, 50-50 on Oki, into round over. My perspective, like I said, balance direction is just the nerf stuff in Tekken 8. Just nerf it. Might seem a little bit boring to you guys and you like really aggressive gameplay. I do play quite aggressive sometimes, but I just think it's healthier for like the game if we just tone the damage down overall, and it will lead to some more diverse gameplay rather than just like one big combo, get them to the wall, 50-50 on Oki and round over. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Strings. This is funny. I'm sure you've anybody that's played Tekken 7 here, this will probably resonate with you. Because it's one of my biggest gripes with the game. So when you step somebody with your back against the wall and you get their back, sometimes this weird thing happens where you're doing your back turn combo, and I'll use Kazuya's 1-2-4-3 jab string as an example here. You'll get the first 3 hits of your back turn combo, which is guaranteed in the open, by the way. This is a guaranteed back turn combo. And your opponent somehow gets pushed into the wall, and they turn around and block like the last 2 hits or the last hit of your back turn combo, which always works in the open. I really hope that they change this, because as you can see, it's really inconsistent. Sometimes you'll get the whole string, and sometimes you just won't. This is a particularly big problem if you play a character where your back turn combo string ends in a high, right? Like if you're playing Lee with his 1-2-2-3, or let's say Reina with a 1-2-3-4, the last hit of those 2 strings are a high. So if this happens and you're playing those characters, what happens a lot of the time, if you're playing against a good player and they know this happens sometimes, they'll just duck the last hit, right? Because they'll recognize the string, they're in back turn, they know they're getting turned around, and then they block the second last hit, and then they duck the last hit and launch you. I don't like this. More inconsistencies in Tekken leads to more frustration for players. This includes me. And I don't think that's a good thing. So either make this an intended feature, or revert it back to the way it worked in Tekken 7. Hopefully the latter, as I think this is a good reward for taking the appropriate defensive action to counter somebody's offense. But either way, just make it consistent. Mechanics. Let's talk mechanics. Bug fixes. There are so many bugs in the game right now that I would have to dedicate a whole video talking about them. Characters interacting weirdly at the wall, characters going through each other, rage arts whiffing, camera switches. I could spend the whole video talking about them. I know they're gonna fix them. It's on this wish list though, just because it's a priority and it needs to be fixed ASAP. Nobody likes bugs, so I hope they fix them going into Season 2, or at least most of them. Backdash, let's talk backdash. The Korean backdash, and also the backdash that I use, which is the reverse wave dash backdash. I would like to see an improved backdash in terms of distance. This is again self-explanatory, this one, but every character in Tekken 8 that was originally in Tekken 7, if you don't know, they have a shorter backdash in this game. Ironically, this is kind of funny, but Dragunov's backdash distance was unchanged from Tekken 7 to Tekken 8. He's the only character that didn't get a backdash nerf. Listen, Tekken 8 is already really aggressive, especially with heat. So I just think it would be cool to let players, including myself again, it would just be cool to be able to disengage from the battle once in a while, rather than just being in your opponent's face literally the whole time. I actually do think this is the main reason why people find the game like really fatiguing. It's not just the heat, it's not just the aggression, it's the not having the ability to be able to like disengage at all. I remember when I first started playing Tekken 8 after Tekken 7, how fatiguing it was for me personally, going from Tekken 7 to Tekken 8. And I think being able to disengage from your opponent will alleviate that fatigue a lot. So yeah, a better backdash would be much appreciated. Tracking. Let's talk tracking, because that is a big one. So in general, the Tekken 8 balancing team I think are going in the right direction here, but there are still a ton of strings where if you step the first move, you'll get clipped by the second. I'll use Claudio's down forward 3-1 as an example here, but Alice's forward 2-1 is also another example of where this happens. It can be pretty jarring as a defender if you step the first move, you think you've made the right call stepping it, and then you get clipped by the second hit. A lot of players, including myself, find this pretty frustrating. They are going the right route with nerfing Dragunov's back 4-3 nerf. So what happened with Dragunov's back 4-3, it used to be the case that if you stepped the first kick, the second kick would always clip you, no matter which way you stepped. So the tech for this was you would step right duck, and then you wouldn't get clipped by the second kick. They changed this, they nerfed this, so now if you step the first kick, you are also going to step the second kick. So I hope in Season 2 we will see significantly more nerfs to tracking strings, like the Claudio down forward 3-1 example, or Alice's forward 2-1. There are a ton of strings like this in the game, so I hope that they really tone down a lot of that stuff, because sidestepping is our main tool for counterplay in Tekken 8. If they don't give us an improved backdash, it's going to stay as sidestepping and being in your opponent's face the whole time. So I really hope that they nerf a lot of the tracking on some of the strings. Right, the misalignment issue. This is going to confuse some people, and I don't blame you if you're confused, because I also find it confusing. When you sidestep a move, what generally happens, or what is supposed to happen, is that they essentially will misalign with you. So in this case of Jin's forward 3-1, you can see me playing as Lee on the left, right, sidestepping. I'm able to whiff punish correctly here. The key thing to note is that Jin is now misaligned to me, but I, as the lead player, am still facing directly in Jin's direction, even during the sidestep. This is what's supposed to happen. However, if we take Jin's Zen 3+4, and I try to punish this with Lee's up forward 4, his hop knee, I am now misaligned with Jin. Now I think this is because Lee's up forward 4 is quite linear, because this doesn't happen if I use this down forward 2. What's interesting about these two moves is that the up forward 4 doesn't track to either side. The down forward 2 doesn't track to Lee's left side, but the down forward 2 does track to his right side. What's funny is when I'm sidestepping Jin's flying kick, he is going to my right side. So essentially, I am making Jin sidestep me to the right. That is why the hop knee is whiffing, and the down forward 2 doesn't whiff. If I step his flying kick to the other side, I'm essentially, again, making Jin step to Lee's left side now. So neither the down forward 2 or the up forward 4 will connect. I personally think this is kind of dumb, and I hope in Season 2 they either fix this if it's a bug, or they change it to where no matter which way you sidestep someone, you always stay aligned to them, being the one that did the correct counterplay by sidestepping. But let me know your thoughts on this, because this is an interesting one, and it also leads to a lot of people complaining about sidestepping, I think, personally. I really don't like this, and I hope they change it. So for some context for this one, this is post-Edit Eagle here. I actually went and asked Duelist and Super Akuma, I'm not close to those guys, I just asked in their stream, about this issue. I say issue, or intended feature, or whatever it is. Because I know it's something that not a lot of people talk about, because it's quite complicated, right, about like specifics to do with sidestepping, so not a lot of people are going to talk about that or make videos about that. But Super Akuma did actually say that this has always been a thing, well, since Tekken 6, even back to Tekken 5, he said. that sometimes your sidestep and your sidestep will fuck up, and to always use a tracking move. But still, I don't remember this really happening in Tekken 7. Back in Tekken 7, I also wasn't the best player. I feel like I've improved a lot since Tekken 8 launched in terms of like just Tekken. I feel like I've improved as a player a lot. But I don't remember this being as big of an issue in Tekken 7. If it is an issue or it's an intended feature, because I honestly don't know at this point. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. I personally don't like this. I think it's kind of stupid, but let me know what you think in the comments. Obviously, if it's been in the game since like Tekken 6, Tekken 5, it's a legacy thing, so maybe there's an argument there to keep it in the game, but I still don't think that if you sidestep somebody, you should be punished, essentially, for sidestepping them. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Health recovery is sometimes too much, especially for rushdown characters that have very heavy plus frames like Law, Huarang, and Lydia. And chip damage is also too much, like with Kuma and Heat with his electrics or Alice's chainsaws. They chip away at your health very, very quickly while also recovering health. This can kind of lead to some insane end of round situations where, let's say the time is going down, you're against Alisa, she pops Heat, there's 10 seconds left, you have the life lead, she gets her chainsaws out and does this. We could also talk about Yoshi's recoverable health and true healing capabilities here, not just his grey health, but his true health too, especially in Heat. But we're not going to talk about Yoshi because he could take up a whole video, and I think everybody knows how done that character is right now. I do think that recoverable health and chip damage is a cool thing to have in Tekken. I do like that. I just think that sometimes it's too much, you know, like Alice's chainsaws, especially with that string that Alisa has with her chainsaws in Heat, and Kuma's electric. It's also paired with the fact that you can't do anything to alleviate that situation. You're put in like a heavily minus situation, so you have to take the mix up. With Kuma's electrics, for example, they're all mid electrics. You might want to try and duck if he does, because you can actually low block the electrics if they're a special mid. You can low block them, but then what if he does his Heat Smash, which is a 13 frame heavy hitting wall breaking move? Like, you don't want to risk that. If you duck thinking he's going to do back forward 2, but then he does his Heat Smash. You're not going to do that, right? And same with Alice's chainsaws. Like, they're all really... most of his moves out of chainsaws are quite plus. So you don't really want to risk like trying to option select that or like guessing properly. So I just think it's too much, the chip damage. So personally, I'm hoping for a reduction in chip damage and recoverable health overall. Let's talk about the rage up, or rage state. Rage, in my opinion, should disappear when you recover health past that threshold that you initially got your rage from. If you've gotten your health down, you go into rage, you have access to your rage up, plus an increase in your overall damage output for all moves. However, if your health bar has gotten there with a lot of grey health, you can recover potentially all of that back. Most of the time, in everybody's experience, usually people only recover up to about half health. I say usually. But half health is still a lot, right, for somebody to still have rage. They still keep that damage buff and the ability to do a rage up. So what I'm proposing is that once you recover health past that initial threshold that you initially got your rage up or rage state from, you lose access to your rage. And then if you lose health back down to that point, to that initial threshold, you then gain your rage state back. Provided you didn't use your rage up. If you use your rage up, you shouldn't have rage for the rest of the round. I think this just makes most sense in terms of balance within the game, and won't lead to like weird scenarios where like you're fighting against a Yoshi and he gets like 80% of his health back for doing flash, because you can also recover true health as well while keeping rage. I think that's just really weird. So I hope they change it that way. I actually have a feeling they might do this as well. Right, Heat bursts, hear me out here, should be 1 use per match. But Heat engages should remain unchanged. So right, the bind for your Heat is 2+3, right? That would stay the same. The only thing that would change is that you go into Heat manually only once per match. You can still land a Heat engager in any round and that would activate Heat. You would still have your Heat available every single round. The only change is how you get there. To be honest, in my opinion, this makes it more of a skilled ability, and it's a compromise for both sides. At the moment, there are two sides. On one side, people really love Heat. It adds something new to Tekken that we've never had before. Bring something new to Tekken that we've never had before, just like recoverable health and chip damage. And on the other side, people feel like it detracts from the gameplay and it's more of a like quote-unquote defensive crutch, right, for people to have, like heat burst I'm talking about. For example, one player has low health, back against the wall, pops heat burst, and is able to make a comeback where if he didn't have the heat burst, he wouldn't have been able to effectively steal his turn back and make the comeback in the first place, right? So personally, I think heat burst is cool. I just think it's too good. It's something that you can use whenever you're in trouble. And once per match would be a pretty cool compromise where it adds another layer of mind games as to like, when am I going to use my heat burst? A bit like popping Heihachi's Warrior Instinct, right? If you've got Warrior Instinct in the first 3 rounds of the match, maybe you have to save it to the 5th round of the match, you know? Adds another layer of mind games that I think is kind of cool, while keeping the ability to go into heat just by landing a successful heat engager, right? So then there's another mind game of, am I going to pop my heat burst, or do I risk not being able to land a heat engager? You know what I mean? I think that's kind of cool. Tell me what you think about that one in the comments. Heat timer shouldn't stop when you're doing a combo. I actually don't know why it doesn't stop. I always thought that they would change this, but they never did. A lot of the time, because your heat timer doesn't stop when you're like comboing somebody, it like leads to your heat lasting, like, in my opinion, much longer than it should in a match. Characters that recover heat bar as well, sometimes in heat for like the whole round. My perspective on this is just make the player think about the heat usage when they've landed a launcher. If I only have a bit of heat bar left, am I going to end my combo early to get some good Oki and plus frames? Am I going to use my heat dash early in the combo before it runs out? Or am I just going to do my combo and sacrifice the rest of my heat bar to get my guaranteed damage from the rest of my combo? Maybe carry them to the wall to get the rest of my pressure that way instead. That way, heat timers wouldn't last the whole round, and also I think it would be easier to balance the character's heat properties as a whole anyway, especially with characters that already recover heat bar. Heat smashes on whiff. So there's a lot of talk about heat smashes on whiff. Maybe it shouldn't carry on for all characters. I think it shouldn't carry on for some characters, and I'm going to use Dragunov as an example here. Weird situations can present themselves for the defender when stepping a character's heat smash. Let's say Dragunov's heat smash, right? Where the attacker, being Dragunov, whiffs their heat smash and basically travels all the way across the screen even though they whiffed it. With Dragunov, you can step his heat smash and launch immediately. Or you can do something else, which is you can choose to sidewalk all the way around him. If you do this, then you have to run up to him after he does his first 2 hits and try and punish him here. If you try and punish him here, his 3rd hit will come out, making you whiff most of the time, unless you're really, really sharp. So you have to wait for him to do his 3rd hit before you can take your punish. The problem with this is that because Dragunov stops for a second after he does his 2nd hit, you have to then start running again to catch up to him. And sometimes by the time you catch up to him, he will have enough time to just turn around and block again. Now, you might argue this is a skill issue, and that you can just whiff punish the first whiff of the heat smash, just sidestep the first hit, and then electric or down for 2 or whatever, or that you just time your run so you don't run into him and have to start running again to catch up to him. You may be right about that, but I would argue that because the reward that he gets for actually hitting his heat smash, he really should be easy to punish for actually whiffing that, of making the wrong offensive decision. Very similar to how a rage art works, right? You're always going to block punish a rage art. You're always going to do it. Sometimes it makes for weird gameplay where you feel like you did the correct defensive action to counter something, and in that weird situation, the thing you tried to counter became safe, where you don't get the correct reward, or you feel like you don't get the correct reward for taking what you would think was the right defensive action. I will also say that for some characters it makes sense for them to have more than a few moves of their heat smash come out on whiff, like Law's 2nd hit being a launcher, or Brian's 2nd hit, or Reina's, or Heihachi's, to name a few. I'm really only talking about characters where the heat smash sends them flying across the screen, making them really difficult to punish on whiff. Something else I want to talk about heat smashes. Heat smashes, I think you should be able to low parry heat smashes, I think. Some heat smashes are like -12 on block. Some of the low ones, like falls, for example. This adds a little bit more risk for doing them, and it also would be a good way of giving players more defensive options to a really aggressive mechanic, frankly. All heat bursts and heat smashes should have 0 tracking, in my opinion. Just make it universal. Brian's and Kuma's heat burst tracking is kind of crazy, and Heihachi's has like no tracking at all. Jin's heat smash has a fuck ton of tracking. Heihachi's has 0 tracking. I realize I use Heihachi both in these examples, but it is what it is. Just make it more consistent. And also, I think there should be a little bit more risk to doing a heat burst than a heat smash. Phantom range of the heat burst. Make it universal again. Some characters have too much range with their heat bursts. Others have very little range. Jin has a ton of range, while Kazuya's has very little range. Just make it more consistent considering how powerful of a tool the heat burst is. Obviously, some of these things can be interchangeable, right? Because I mentioned that heat burst could only be a once per match thing, right? So some of these things that I'm mentioning in heat, they're just kind of things I'm thinking off the top of my head, right? Obviously, you'd have to balance these out properly, and some of these things wouldn't make sense for them, for some of these changes to both be in Season 2, right? Heat dashes. So right now, heat dashes are all +5 on block, regardless of what the frames are of that move if you didn't heat dash out of it. I'm going to use Kazuya's down back 1-2 for an example. His down back 1-2 is -19 on block, but if you heat dash out of it, it becomes +5, just like every other move in the game. To me, that's such a big jump compared to a move that's, say, like Kuma's while running 1+2 that's +3 on block and changes to +5 on block with a heat dash. Now, originally, what I had in mind was for all the moves that are really heavily minus, like launch punishable, change them to be safe, but not plus. So for Kazuya's down back 1-2, for example, make that like -5 or -6 instead of +5, just not launch punishable. Let's say for Kazuya's 4-4-2, which is -9 on block, if you heat dash out of that, that could stay at +5. Now, as of recording, BDX has just put up his wish list, and he actually has a much simpler and better way to balance the game with his approach to changing heat dashes the way they work. His idea is to just add 5 frames to the move you're heat dashing out of. So for example, Kazuya's down back 1-2, which is -19 on block, if you heat dashed out of that, with his idea, it would just become -14 as opposed to -19. You just add 5 frames. And for Kuma, that's +3 on block already, that would change to +8 as opposed to only adding 2+ frames. It also makes sense for characters like Steve, which he uses as an example in his video, where his while running 2 is +6 regularly, but if he heat dashes out of it, it becomes +5. So it's kind of like a worse move. Obviously, it's not because it launches in heat, but I'm sure you got his point in his video. It seems kind of weird that happens, right? Whereas moves that are like minus, like punishable, like the example he showed in his video with Alisa, can launch at +5 on block, which is very strange. So yeah, I think his idea is good, and that would be an easier way to balance than my suggestion, and it would definitely be more balanced than the game is right now with the things that I just talked about and the things he talked about in his video. So yeah, I think his idea would work very well in Tekken, and it would balance things out and make them a little less jarring than they are right now in terms of balance. Right, now let's talk about online. The netcode. Yeah, the netcode isn't that great in Tekken 8. Considering that most Tekken players play online, not in offline tournaments, it's definitely something that should be a priority for Namco to get dialed in. PC versus console can sometimes be pretty laggy. Sometimes there's crazy rollback and delay frames. I played Tekken 7 for about 3 or 4 years before Tekken 8 came along, and I gotta say, the netcode doesn't really seem that much better than Tekken 7. So just try and optimize the netcode a little bit better. Performance issues. Same thing as the netcode really. Just optimize the game so that it runs better for people. Personally, I have no performance issues, but I have a 3080 GPU, a 32GB RAM, and a Ryzen 9 5900X CPU. A lot of people don't have those specs, and if you make the game only able to run on high specs, you're cutting out a large number of players that simply can't play the game. Also, I think the game could run better on console, so try and optimize the game a little bit better. Tournament mode. Why was this not in the game at launch? This should have been in the game at launch. This is one of the most popular game modes from Tekken 7. There was a huge part in keeping the game alive for so long at the end of Tekken 7's lifespan, and it's a really cool mode that for a 1v1 game, it kind of helps to make it more of a big multiplayer experience instead of being solely a 1v1 game. It helps to include more players in the mix and make it like a 1v8 or a 1v16, and that's cool, man. That's cool for a fighting game. And I can't lie, I was actually really disappointed personally when it wasn't in the game at launch. I was really looking forward to it. So it'd be really cool if they gave us tournament mode back. It was a really cool game mode that a lot of people have been asking for since the launch of the game. Lobby options. So this is a kind of goofy one, just options to turn off heat, change HP values, turn counter hits off. Just some cool options for people to mess around with. Would be some nice variety in different game modes. Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. And the Tekken Fight Lounge, personally, I don't see much value in going to the lounge. Anything I can do in there, I can just do in practice mode or in the warm-up lobby. What would be kind of cool is if they put some things on the big screen in the Tekken Lounge, rather than just the trailers they always put. So it'd be cool if they put like the TWT leaderboard or like past hype moments on screen, like Lil Margin versus JDCR at EVO, or Yagami versus Chanel Reverse 5-0 Sweep at EWC. Or upcoming tournament dates and where to watch them. It's kind of confusing, to be honest, that Namco aren't promoting the Tekken 8 Pro play more. And it would also make finding out about pro tournaments a lot easier, rather than just relying on Twitter to find out about them. So it'd be cool if they could actually utilize the Fight Lounge. Personally, I'd probably go to the Fight Lounge more often. So that'd be kind of cool. And then other stuff, which is just kind of miscellaneous. Custom controls for different characters. That would be pretty sick. If I want to play Brian, like what it is right now for me, if I want to play Brian and get my EC Taunt bind, right, I'll bind 1+3+4 to my L2 on pad. I play on pad, so I bind 1+3+4 to my L2 on PS4 pad. If I play Heihachi, I need the L2 bound to 1+4 for Warrior's Instinct. It would just be a really good quality of life change that I think everybody would appreciate, and it cuts out a lot of time if you're playing multiple characters like me. So it'd be kind of cool if we got custom controls for different characters. And then the last thing I have, which is just another really personal one, is Mokujin as a DLC character. If you watch my videos a lot, or you watch me stream, you know I play a lot of different characters, so it'd be cool if we had Mokujin come back to Tekken. It'd be cool to be able to like go into a match, try and work out which character I'm playing by the moveset, and then play. That'd be pretty sick. So personally, I hope they bring Mokujin back. Right, so I think that's going to cover everything. Also, my voice is about to go, so I think I'll end the video here. Obviously, there's going to be some things that you would hopefully agree with, and there'll definitely be some things I'm sure that a lot of you will disagree with, but that's fine. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, what you agree with, what you disagree with, what you would change from what I said. Remember to keep it civil in the comments. Obviously, people have very strong opinions about the game right now, but let's try and keep it civil in the comments. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. That's going to be it from me, guys. Much love, and I will see you in the next one.